Game 3 is the Seahawks at the Rams, with a total of 50.5, and the Rams favored by 10. The Seahawks offense is an enigma. Despite being the lowest volume passing attack in the league, quarterback Russell Wilson consistently posts useful fantasy games by scoring multiple touchdowns. Wilson has only thrown more than 30 times in 3 games this season, but all 3 games were losses, and we expect him to be trailing to the powerhouse Rams. Technically, the Seahawks' leading receiver is Doug Baldwin, but he's fighting through a hamstring and groin injury and yet to clear 100 yards this season. Big play threat Tyler Lockett has been productive on limited targets, somehow scoring 6 touchdowns on just 28 catches this season. And number 3 option is David Moore, but he actually has the most Seattle targets over the last month. And leading tight end Nick Vannett saw a team-high 8 targets last week, making him a good buy before the public catches on. With starting running back Chris Carson expected to be sidelined, Mike Davis will likely be the lead back, with Rashad Penny mixing in touches. Assuming Carson sits, Davis is a tempting play on DraftKings, especially with him being heavily involved in the passing game. The main downside with Davis is ownership, and the small possibility that he gets vultured by Penny. Rams quarterback Jared Goff faces a tough Seattle secondary that hasn't allowed much fantasy scoring, but with a team total over 30, there's always potential for a big outing. I'm concerned that Goff's huge game last week may drive up ownership, and since the Rams are so heavily favored and likely to lean on Gurley, I won't be playing Goff this week. Cooper Kupp returned to his full-time role last week, and his price is back to pre-injury levels. The slot is the weak spot of the Seattle secondary, and I expect Kupp to be the highest-owned Rams receiver. The second highest should be Brandon Cooks, whose talent for big plays might be unneeded if the Rams go up early. And Robert Woods doesn't have quite the ceiling of Cooks, but hasn't had less than 70 receiving yards since week 1. And of course, Todd Gurley is the best player in fantasy football, and they've yet to find a price or matchup that makes him worth fading. As always, if you can afford him, fire up Gurley.